Joining us this week are Kyle Miller, Katie Howe, Anthony Moody, and Romy Mastel from Team Glitch, and you're listening to the RoboCast. Hello everyone, welcome back to the RoboCast with myself, Steve the American Killjoy, and not World of Woodrow. He is busy doing, I think he's doing monster trucks, I think. So we're joined by a adequate replacement, I think, in Ryan from Spinnerproof. Ryan, how are you, my friend?
I'm very good. I'm enjoying the stand-in host life. It's so much easier than actually having to make and manage your own podcast.
You're very good at this kind of stand-in role, aren't you? It's just good to have you back again. I think the last time you were here, we spoke at length about the beta Rotator fight, which I feel is somewhat appropriate.
Yeah, there's a nice little sort of Rotator thread going through this, and also episodes with judges' decisions that have proven interesting for people is probably the nicest way of putting it. So happy to get into the meat and potatoes of that.
We'll get to that, I'm sure, in due course. But joining us as well this week are, I feel like, most of the Glitch team. Guys, welcome. How are you all doing?
Good. How are you? Definitely not all of the Glitch team. We have like 35 people now.
What?
Oh my!
So they're lucky we didn't bring everyone.
No, that would have been.
We've been here all week. It would have been amazing.
Yeah, we've all been on Zoom calls with that many people, right? Well, I'm school and anything, but that's a nightmare.
Definitely a lot of tripping over each other.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun.
I think it's fair to say Glitch has definitely caught a lot of people's attention this year, just by the fact that it's so. I mean, the performances is one thing, but it's the unique nature of the weapon and the drive style all combined together. So I'm going to start with a listener question, which comes from a guy called Sebastian AS on Facebook, which was, what came in first in terms of priority of the design? Was it the weapon or the chassis when it comes to Glitch?
It was the weapon and just having an X drive. The chassis went through like 5 different ugly shapes before we finally settled on that chassis shape. But we knew we wanted the X drive, so the 45-degree thing was always in there. And then it was all about getting in the weapon.
Yeah, well, can you explain that for the viewers at home? Like, what kind of advantages do you get with an X drive over like a standard tank steering?
Yeah, so the X drive allows us to strafe. So with a heavier weapon, we're turning less, and turning is the cause of us like gyroing and lifting. And we wanted to avoid that as much as possible. Also, you get a neat trick where if you're capable of driving, you can always face your opponent, like even if you're spinning around them.
Is there an advantage to going for the X drive as opposed to the more, I say more traditional Omni drive of Shatter, for example, which is 2 wheels on either side? Like, was there more of was it a stylistic choice to go for the X drive, or was it purely just for the flex, or was it more, was there an actual tangible benefit, do you think?
Yeah, it was mostly stylistic. Mecanum has actually like 3 advantages, but like you can have normal wheels. Normal orientation of wheels. You can the gear ratio. There's in the X drive, it speeds up the drive 1 1/4, and that has an issue with traction. And also, I don't know, Mecanum, because of the ways the wheels are oriented. If the rollers get locked up, you're still a normal drive. We are struggling. And then The one benefit that we have is we can have larger rollers. And larger rollers means we can have larger bearings in them and a little bit more cushion. And like, for example, Shatter, they normally have to replace all of their rollers. We actually didn't have a single roller get damaged other than taking direct hits from weapons. Mm-hmm. So we're really surprised by that. I guess that helped.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, do you want to go for the next one?
Oh, do I get to do listener questions?
You do.
If you want.
Oh, yeah. So this one comes from Foolish Banana on Twitter. It's something that I'm also very curious about. What made you decide on the name? Because it seems
Did
like
the bot come before the name?
So it almost seems like it's kind of earned that name through some of the difficulties it has. But where did it come from initially?
We actually put we pulled up like, you know those websites with like random name generators? We pulled up like a random tech name generator one, and we just kind of kept pressing the button and like noting down the good ones.
That's gold.
And then we like voted on one. And then after that, just because Glitch both like it sounds cool and it's really short, it's also easy to like market. So a lot of our branding was like built around that. So we designed the logo and everything just around that.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Love that you're naming your robots the same way I'm naming most of my D&D characters.
There you go. That kind of ties into the following question too, where like, what was the inspiration behind the branding of the robot, the color scheme? Did you guys do any like research on that, or is it just kind of something that just kind of popped out organically?
I googled Glitch and then
the first thing we did was
the internet made this robot.
Oh yeah,
we tried rainbow because we had LEDs, and then
we were
BattleBots didn't like that.
Yeah, we were gonna do like the whole RGB like, spectrum, and we had like, the whole rainbow.
It was too just like solid black, and so then we just like we said no, so we just googled Glitch, and then
production has the final say.
Yeah. And we just went on like a color, like the color palette generators. Just kept pressing the button on those
until you found one you liked.
Hey,
look, it worked. It's a profound effect. I mean, looking at the bot here, it looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm. It's got a very vaporwave kind of feel. It's just I don't know, it looks nice, and it shows up well on TV. It's not overly loud. It looks very clean, looks very sharp. So whatever generator you used, obviously was a good one.
It seems like it hits all those marks that BattleBots put out in that document of how to get onto the show. In terms of, does it have a really unique sort of silhouette? Absolutely. Yes. Does it have a completely unique aesthetic on top of that? Absolutely. Unique drive, fairly unique weapon in the field that we've got. There aren't that many people doing big beaters like this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit... There are many good reasons that people were excited about this before the season even began.
Mm-hmm. A certain Mr. American Killjoy was definitely hyping.
Oh my god, I was hyped when I first saw. I'll be honest. When I first saw this on Instagram pop up, I messaged you, Sam. I think I'm like, oh, this one's gonna be cool. I just like the shape of it and the idea of having your weapon, just big chunky weapon, and having a really like pointed profile. I was interested to see how effective that was going to be. Obviously, you guys have gone from the point to kind of more of a flat kind of trapezoidal shape at the front, and that seems to have worked out for you. But yeah, no, I've been hype on this robot for almost a year now because it's because of how long it's been since it was revealed. That's the thing. I'm proud to rep it.
Absolutely. Question from JLaw808 from YouTube, which was, what were the technical issues that forced you out of the main competition?
Okay, so quick rundown was we wanted to up our RPM against Witch Doctor, so the weapon RPM. They were running forks for like the first time ever, and so we we basically had to win a weapon on weapon hit, and faster RPM helps with that. And so we had one bot completely ready and one bot that had the faster weapon setup. And the bot that had the faster weapon setup didn't have all the electronics in, so we had to move some of the electronics from the working robot to faster robot. And faster robot did not spin up, just not enough torque, and we were just out of time to swap the electronics back.
Like going out on the bench is the worst thing, like, because even if you go in there and you get smashed up by Witch Doctor, like that's how it goes sometimes, right? But like going out on the bench must have been like the most frustrating thing in the world.
Yes, I would have loved to get like completely obliterated, rather than just watch the match.
Yeah, well, who knows?
Watching Mammoth in there,
Yeah, that was rough. I feel like BattleBots. I mean, I imagine there's only so many teams left at that point that stuck around, But depending on how it was all scheduled, but that was a brutal beatdown. Poor Mammoth. But hey, maybe a grudge match in the future between you and Witch Doctor, unless it happens next season. Who knows?
Well, I was going to say, Steve, we'll get to this a little bit later on, but there's still a possibility that Glitch fights Witch Doctor this season.
Oh, that's true. Yes, considering if the cards fall the way that they may,
who knows?
These bounty bosses aren't actually holding up to their boss status so far.
No,
But we'll get to that.
No. Another Witch Doctor related question is, how do you think you may have fared had you gone in there? Let's say in a hypothetical world, we like a good what if. You get all the components into the faster RPM chassis. How does it go? What do you think?
So that was the fight that we also took off our magnets. The fight that we were up against Gruff instead, just because our magnets were cracking at the bottom, and that was kind of a disaster.
Oh yeah,
you could see the drive.
We'll get to it later.
Probably the worst it's ever been. Mm-hmm. So we would have had that drive up against Witch Doctor, which is very maneuverable and has a very good driver. So
it could have been spicy.
Yeah. It would have made good TV, and no matter what would have happened, I think we can all agree with that. Because even with Glitch, with its drive stuff, everyone talks about it, all that stuff. They got to come to you eventually. I mean, you do find ways to get out of your circumference, and then they have to attack you. So, but yeah, Ryan, take this next one.
I've closed the document now.
Oh, come on, man.
This is one of the questions I always love the questions about sort of generally being at BattleBots. This comes from Caleb Kempson, artist extraordinaire. On average, how much sleep were you all operating on while you were at BattleBots? And especially, I would guess, during Champions as well, where the schedule is that much tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Champions was all in one day.
Right.
So there's Gruff was one day, and then refights the other day. What do you think?
On average,
4 to 6.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
For
2 weeks.
2 weeks plus the week beforehand.
And you're probably feeling a bit secondhand towards the end of that competition.
We got a nice break after we dropped out.
Did you just go back to the hotel and just sleep for the whole day after that? Was that like?
No, we got 8 hours of sleep. That was a break.
Hey, look, do you know what? It'll do, right? It's like twice of what you were getting until that point. So you're supposed
to make the bed feel that much more comfortable once you get back there. After a long day's fought, it's that much more rewarding.
I think the final one before we start talking about some of the fights from the episode comes from more than one person. The ones I've highlighted are Matt Hedger and Ty Daly, and which is, what is your go-to brand of unbranded energy drink? What is your go-to flavor?
I'll say it. We got to get sponsored for that one.
Oh, I like it.
Smart play to keep that one open.
We had cases of a very certain energy drink at our pit at all times. So there is a very popular flavor, at least with Kyle.
Kyle didn't even drink that many. He didn't even drink that many of them. Too. Yeah, he didn't drink it.
Who's counting?
I really needed to.
Yeah.
By the sounds of things, I don't doubt it at all.
I'll be honest. Every time they interviewed you, I felt bad because it's just like you're seeing. It's like almost like you're staring through the camera. Like, please, I just need to go back and just shut my eyes for 5 seconds.
I wasn't like that.
I do significantly worse with less sleep. It's how I am, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse.
It's amplified. Of course,
the more out of it I am.
Yeah, it's a stressful situation here. You got cameras and people looking at you and lots of lights, and it's a lot going on. I sympathize. I do sympathize.
Yeah, it's just tired brain can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I'm sure it was a lot of fun, and I'm sure you're probably itching to do it again, even still.
Maybe not the same way that it happened, but
you might do it. Who knows? If you So we talk about some fights from the episode. I think that's a good thing to do. So obviously we'll get to a few more glitch related questions a bit later on, but our first fight of the night was Dragon Slayer and Uppercut. Now, Uppercut with the big disc.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Monsoon I'm looking at? Like literally, the first time I saw it, as soon as I saw it, I thought Monsoon aren't going to be happy because they've spent so much of the last couple of seasons working
Monsoon
on
without wheel pods, covers and stuff like that. It didn't work for them really. I mean, it kind of did, but it didn't work as well as their bar.
No.
Which I mean, there's reasons for why that that this doesn't store as much energy, but it's still, you know,
It was so heavy. This is the thing. And
I know.
Uppercut is an unstable beast at the best of times, and then putting more mass at the front and making it even more unstable probably wasn't. I mean, I get why they wanted to try it against I don't want to say an easier opponent, but like something that could,
something more unproven.
Yes, you know, I get what, you know, Uppercut generally is going to be paired up against, you know, high-end machines in the main competition and even in the fight nights. So an opportunity to test it against a less proven opponent is probably when they're going to want to do it. But it wasn't all their own way, was it? You know, Dragon Slayer got a good couple of hits off, but in the end, the damage just paid off.
Dragon Slayer's front end kind of hurt them.
Yeah.
The way, at the moment it took any damage, it kind of completely took away their offensive threat. It looked like they weren't quite getting under, but if they got around, they had half a chance. As soon as it started peeling up, and it did peel up badly, that was kind of curtains at that point.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, too, because... Oh, yeah, go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I was at the edge of my seat because, like, Dragon Slayer got one of the self-writing bars knocked off, and Uppercut was twirling around, like, almost at the verge of if they got tapped, they could have fallen on the side. So, like, it was a game
could
of
have been,
put the damage, take out Dragon Slayer before just cow-tipping.
It was close. It was getting there, wasn't it? But it just didn't quite happen in the end. I think the shot that really amazed me was like when Uppercut was hitting off the bottom of Dragon Slayer, and kind of like just slowly, just more armor was disappearing off the bottom of Dragon Slayer. Like that was just incredible to see, just like it peel away like that. But a solid rookie campaign for Dragon Slayer, I think. You know, not it certainly. It won, you know, it performed pretty well, I thought. You know, I know it went 1-3 in the end, did it? So it beat Duck and lost to Minotaur, Orby, and Uppercut. That's not a bad resume, really.
No, yeah, it's kind of a shame too, because there's many instances in its fights that it's lost, that it's up on those bunny ears and upside down, and it's spending time trying to get back over, but it's leaving itself very open and weak with where those rear end plates where you see the lights coming out. They're just targets for verts and horizontals and the like. It's a really nice looking machine. I like the theme. I very much like their fire and ice dragon blade that they have shown here in this picture. That's really cool. It just wasn't their year this time. It just, you know, we see enough verts to kind of get an idea of you know, you would expect them to hit pretty hard, and we got a couple of instances of that. I know they went in with a smaller weapon bar in this fight than the one that's shown here, but it's, you know, it's rookie team. You know, they'll go back to the drawing board and figure out what didn't work and come back stronger.
Absolutely, and a solid win for Uppercut. If a little less spectacular than what they normally put on, let's say. I think, you know, they've shown before that they kind of have that unbelievable one-hit KO potential, and just didn't quite happen on this occasion. But, you know, I think that's probably more a credit to Dragon Slayer than anything else. And
you're going to have fights like that. You know, it's not every fight's going to be a blockbuster draw drop, you know, so you got to have fights like this, and, you know, to get through to the next round sometimes.
Correct. Moving on. ICEWave and free shipping, the first of 3 split decisions.
Not surprising.
I know Ryan's itching to talk about judges' decisions, so I want to throw straight over to you, Ryan.
Yeah. I agree the heck out of this decision, and I was very worried it wasn't the one we were going to get.
As soon as they said split, I thought they're going to give it to ICEWave on the damage, aren't they? Because I just, like, when you watch the fight, okay, I know we've said it before, it's the eye test of, okay, free shipping is pushing ICEWave all over the arena, but they didn't use their weapon. That was the thing.
They kept it out of the way. Using a defensive maneuver, which would really hurt your aggression score. You know, it's tricky. But that's the thing. It's the eye test, and the eye test also can hurt. You know, where it looks like a fight coming up with a guest that we have here. I'm sure we'll talk about it. Where the eye test maybe looks like it's possible that one won over the other, but yeah. But no, Ryan, yeah, I agree with you too. This looks like the right call, and I would have scored it very similarly. Free shipping did a very good job at neutralizing ICEWave. You know, there's nothing else to say other than just it was a very great tactical win by Gary. And it's it's finally good to see him get a win, because it's a shame that this robot just has not performed on TV because it sure as heck that performs off of it.
Yeah, watch him win Robo Games next year, no problem.
I get see
straight out of the box, he'll do it, I'm sure. Go on, Ryan. Sorry.
It's interesting to look back on this one because, in a way, it's really encouraging to see that the judges will respect a performance like this. You know, you can fight this way and get the win that you deserve. It's also really discouraging to see that they don't agree on that fact.
Yeah, what was it? Jason's score was 7-4 when the other two were 6-5. What did he see that the other two didn't see?
I'm guessing a lot of it just comes down to the ambiguity in the system where it comes to attacking without a weapon, where the judge's guide basically says attacks without a weapon are worth quite a lot less than attacks with. And that is it.
Yep.
And that is, if you're sat there judging a fight, that is not useful guidance to have. There's nothing quantifying it. So one person could look at this and go, well, sure, free shipping's attacks are worth less, but there are far more of them, so they still get the aggression points. Well, they could look at it and go, well, they need to do a lot more attacks than that to equal those couple that ICEWave got off. Free shipping is instigating most of the engagements.
Correct.
Yes, they're not using their weapon, but the whole thing, and I love that we're talking about this, considering it comes from the beta rotator fight.
I know.
Right.
All they did to address that issue is stop a robot getting 3-0 in aggression. You can still win aggression without your weapon.
Yeah.
It's all just, it's a system I'm glad I don't have to use. Put it that way.
Free shipping does use their weapon. You know, there are a couple instances where they try to get a lick on their on the dome, which actually gets twisted in this fight. Yeah. It gets rotated almost 90 degrees to the left, counterclockwise.
To be fair, I think the test box footage they show, it's doing that to itself.
Yeah, it kind of started moving by itself.
It's just vibrating round by the looks of it.
So strange.
I want to ask, you guys as well. Obviously, bearing in mind we have got a decision of yours coming up later on, which is going to be similar, ambiguous, if not the same. Yeah. Watching this fight on TV, what did you guys think?
I mean, you watched it. Okay. I don't know. I thought that free shipping one just eye test. I mean, I think in previous seasons, maybe with the wedging being a negative in aggression, someone might be confused and be like, "Oh, I thought that should be negative." But with the judges' guide this year and using a wedge for aggression is still aggression, less aggression, but still aggression. I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It was a very tornado style victory where it just bashing it around the arena just over and over and over again until it just wears it out. And I mean, ICEWave was still pretty much fully functional at the end of the fight, aside from, maybe, slower because battery strain and stuff like that, obviously. But other than that, it was it's hard to quantify damage because there were scratches. A lot of it's superficial.
The pin for the wedge was coming out, and I wonder a few more connections on that. Maybe the wedge comes off and it's a different story. But
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was a cool fight, and I hope it's not the last time we see ICEWave, because that just the sound of ICEWave is enough for me to be accepted every season. I think it's wonderful, and I love it. I can't imagine how loud it is in the arena.
You also hope it's not the last time we see free shipping, because both of them, to be honest, are robots that you'd look at going into a sort of selection process and wonder if they will be selected again.
Right.
And it would be a shame to lose either, but at the same time, from the selection committee point of view and from a TV production point of view, which they are ones you could imagine them going, yeah, we've given them a couple of seasons, let's have someone else.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm sure there's plenty of teams that are chomping at the bit to get in, It's
the most competitive out there, isn't it? Especially now there's been a few years where, especially the European teams haven't been able to come along to have some fun, and
that's a separate conversation.
It is indeed. But the competition is just so high now. The standard is so high. It's I hope right. I do see what you mean. I hope it's not the last time we see free shipping, but they won this fight, so they did get a win on their belts in 2022, or 2021. I'm still confused by the timings of this. It's so long ago now. It was literally filmed as we're recording this, like literally a year ago. So
it is peculiar. I and it's interesting how they're kind of promoting this as season 7. I wonder if they're going to use this as like a
precursor sort of thing.
Precursor to the upcoming season, and then that's how they're planning to do it. Going forward, have a kind of, I don't know, something to fill the time so it's not so long between seasons. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think on some TV guides it's season 6.
Yeah.
With
just to make it even more clearer.
Awesome.
I don't know how you do that. Do you skip to season 8 and just have some guides there's just a gap, or
seven and a half? Yeah.
Could you imagine if Extreme 1 and
forever?
2 were season like
5 and 6?
5 and 6 instead?
Yeah. Oh my god, it's crazy. Oh dear. Well, ICEWave wins this fight. Our third fight was highlighted. For those that have seen it, it is on YouTube if you want to go watch it. It's freely
It was a
available.
fight.
It was a fight. I can see why they did cut it. At the same time, it was cool to see Retrograde do some Retrograde stuff. We've kind of been waiting for it to have that, breakout fight, and I suppose this is kind of it, really. And obviously their next fight later on. Apparently they severed a chain that go like part of the gearbox with the chains. There's more than just the 2 that you see on the weapon. There's several in there, and they cut one of them, and that's what fell out. And with no weapon, Mammoth couldn't really do a whole lot. Really, they were just relegated to trying to nudge them around, which they did do very well. But and they kept Retrograde in between the 2 pontoons at the front, rather than kind of able to hit the wheels. But without them damage points or those weapon points, they weren't going to get anywhere when Retrograde has secured that hit.
It's kind of a shame. It's kind of a shame too, where it's there aren't a whole lot of catch points for Retrograde when you're inside that pontoon area. You're just going to grind against the underside or up against those panels at the front there. So it's every time that Mammoth comes and kind of catches them, it's Retrograde kind of spinning around and slowly grinding and then getting away again. And that was most of the fight. Outside of that one attempted flip from Mammoth before they spat a chain out. But Retrograde did exactly what they needed to win this fight. Both robots coughing up a little bit of smoke toward the end. It was a bruising battle. It looked it, but it didn't look it. So I was worried going forward to see, how effective they were going to be in their next fight, since they did get the win here. If there was anything lasting that was going to affect them in their next fight coming up. But a win's a win. You'll take them however you can get them. It wasn't a pretty win, but it was effective. You don't want to see every fight go to the judges and leave it up to them, but they did exactly what they needed to do to win, and they're through.
I want to throw another hypothetical out here. So I want to say, in another world, Mammoth wins this fight and fights Glitch. I just want to see that kind of hysterical, the lowest and sleekest robot known to man fighting this giant construction frame that is Mammoth. And by the way, the sign in the crowd, the swing set,
so good.
That was the best thing.
Super good.
Of course, Mammoth, replacing you guys. I think that would have been really cool to see you guys fight it out after they took your place in the competition. It would have been quite an interesting story. What
Story arc.
Yeah, exactly. See, there's those stories again. We were talking about that before we started recording this. Yeah. Would you have liked to have fought Mammoth?
I mean, I'm not sure. I think they would do a great job of not letting us move anywhere, just because the big catchers at the front are so large, and I don't know if we could move. The chance that we have is, do we reach the wheels? And I'm not really sure if that happens.
There's one for next season for the selection committee to sort out.
Would have been fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's just such polar opposites of machined as well. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
Ryan, anything else to add before we move on?
No, it's just interesting that you say that Retrograde did what they needed to do, because they did precisely what they needed to do and basically nothing else.
Yeah.
It seemed like the moment that weapon was down, they knew that a judge's decision was going their way. And it was to me, it may not have been intentional on their part. To me, it looked like a very risk-averse performance. We can just keep grinding on this for another 2 minutes. That'll be fine. We've got a whole other weapon back there, but I don't need that.
Just use the spinner. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, fight number 4. Gruff versus Glitch. talk us through it. What was kind of the game plan going into this?
I mean, I don't know, Anthony, do you want to answer that one? If you can hear things. Last time I tossed him a question on a podcast, he completely answered a different question. So
yeah, that was a mess. Yeah, I think my internet connection is a little bit better this time. I think our strategy was just to not get stuck in their flames for too long, which we did get stuck in their flames for quite a bit. And I mean, who's to say how much the aluminum foil helped, but we were still working afterwards, so I guess it turned out all right. Yeah, so we were trying to avoid the flamethrower and get around to the side, and we managed to not do either of those and still ended up smacking them around a bit. They mostly like drove themselves into our weapon a couple times, I think. So I think we just turned out to get very lucky. Yeah.
And that's interesting you say that too, because I think there's quite a few of your fights this season where your robot is just, it's there, it's in the box, and all it takes is a driving mistake from a builder to drive into your weapon, and it's devastating. So it's the right shape to be just that little bit annoying to a driving mistake. You know, it's I know. I feel like people pick on you for your. I know. I feel like people pick on you guys for like oh, this thing doesn't drive well. Like, first of all, this thing is so wide and flat, and the arena is not perfectly flat, and you have little rollers on Omni wheels. There's a lot of things that have to work. And I'm not just trying to defend you, but I'm trying to defend you from those comments. But in any case, it's you find yourself in the right place at the right time, especially in many instances in this fight. Yes, you may have cooked yourself a little bit. I definitely would worry about Gruff's flames. I heard rumblings that they're working on trying to improve the piping system in there so it doesn't break as easily when they get hit by weapons like yours. So their weapons may be burning hotter for longer now. But this was a solid fight. You kept your guys' robot facing as often as possible. Their robot, it looks like they were having drive issues too. Their whole left side wasn't perfectly right. So
I think with Gruff, they ran forks for the first time as well. Like ever. And I wonder how often they were doing the same thing that you guys were with your forks and just hitting those divots on the floor and just catching every single seam there was.
Yeah. I think like the very first hit might have been what broke the drive. I don't know if that's right or if that was from the get-go, but it was just like kind of, I think it was the same thing. It was like with Kraken where it was like the first pop and then half the drive is locked up, and then we could drive significantly worse than in the Kraken fight, so we couldn't like finish it, and so we're just kind of going around hoping that something happens. And on the point of like keeping us like pointed towards them, there's like 5 different reasons why we can't like move straight with the Omnis, but what we can do is turn, just because they're oriented in a way that's perfect for turning around. And so Anthony was able to do a great job of, even if we can't reach them, just making sure that when they go around to hit us, we're our weapons in their face.
It certainly paid off.
Yeah.
And especially that final hit as well was. I mean, I know it seemed like a late hit. I don't know if it was. It was.
Oh, stop it!
It was there or thereabouts when it was close enough.
I mean, it doesn't help that you've got the commentary saying it's a late hit, and then the on-screen clock still running when the hit goes.
I know.
In.
Yeah,
are you supposed to believe?
Oh, you thought it was?
We all thought it was a late hit. Yeah, but they drove into us.
Was a late hit. Yeah, exactly.
Dude, the clock goes to 0 like right when you touch them. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So
if they're willing to engage at 1 second to go, then that's the consequences are theirs, right? It was very
fight to the bell.
Exactly, and that you did, and a solid win. Obviously, I know it was a judge's decision. Were you at all nervous in that, or did you kind of think, okay, we've probably done enough by virtue of the fact that Gruff didn't do enough?
Yeah, I mean, their drive was broken as well, so I don't know. They could have gotten both aggression and control barely, but I don't think it could have been a 3-0 either way, and just I think damage was unequivocally like either 4-1 or potentially even 5-0.
And that's the risk of going in with a weapon that doesn't cause damage. When there's that's the thing with with robots like Gruff, with this judge's decision criteria being the way that it is, it's very hard for a robot like that
To score points.
to score points outside of, aggression and control. And even still, with it being weighted the way it is for damage, it's an uphill battle. It has been done, but it's tricky.
As proven in this episode, it's been done with free shipping. But yeah, it's not. You have to dominate the fight, and Gruff didn't do that, right? So
nope.
You have to perform like free shipping did, not like Gruff did, basically.
Yeah, we had two fights that basically were just polar opposites in that regard, where you had a control bot, either dominate or just completely, get bossed.
And get bossed they did. Our first semi-final. Now, a few months ago, we saw free shipping take on Uppercut in one of the Fight Night fights. If Sam of the future, when you're editing this, if you're listening, find the thoughts we had for that fight then and just copy them in here.
Yeah. What have we learned? What did they say then when this fight started? Where it's like, oh, Gary learns from his mistakes. Pretty sure this is the same but different. I think they hit the other side. I think that was the only difference in this fight, didn't they? Or was it the same side?
I think free shipping was dead even before Uppercut blew it up. Like that first hit on the wedge, and it kind of just peels the whole wedge up. It was so much damage, and then
that's the eye-opening hit of this fight for me. Yeah, the fireball isn't that impressive. There's a fairly exposed.
I don't know.
It
is,
and they've hit it. The damage they've done to that wedge is magnificent and terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Just tore it, literally tore it a new hole. It was crazy.
The big robot hangnail.
Literally, it was unbelievable. Yeah, Uppercut's scary. I mean, obviously, I know you guys are probably watching this fight thinking, "Oh my god, there's a real possibility we might have to fight Uppercut at this point." Like, what's going through your head seeing it blow free shipping up for a second time this season?
I don't know if we saw the
we were
fight.
asleep.
We saw it.
We were asleep.
But...
Is that what we're saying here?
We did see a lot of them because we were working in the pits, and like the TVs also didn't really have sound, so it was like we were just busy.
Yeah, and then I think at that point we were pretty much working a lot in the battery tent, which we probably shouldn't have, and it was because there's so much less space, and we were very disorganized, so there's tools scattered everywhere on the floor. But there's only one TV in there, and it's far away, so I don't think we saw it, but we still knew what Uppercut has done to many robots before, and so we expected that to kind of happen to us.
It lives in the unconscious reaches of the brains of builders. I'm sure it clearly packs a punch. No pun intended. It's really a scary machine. And I think this is it's two fights against free shipping. I think you'd be very cagey to go in against something like that. It's scary. It's just scary. And I like how both times the explosion was inside that little white box, so we're still okay. We're still under code. Everything's fine. But shoo, I feel bad for Gary. It just I don't know what else he could have done. Like could he have armored the side panels more, or could he not take weight?
I don't think it
away?
matters. I don't think it really matters what you armor in against Uppercut, because the way that it is, like we've seen it do it so many times against different opposition. Look at Sawblaze. Sawblaze is just such a tank of a machine, and it got blown up as well. We saw a Gemini get punted from halfway across the arena and slotted into. It's Uppercut. Just the way that it's. I do want to bring this up later on when we talk about your fight with it, but like its engagement is just incredible. Like it just, as soon as it connects, like there's going to be something not quite right afterwards, and that was very apparent in this fight, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, potential controversy corner time.
Yeah, perhaps.
So we've read, well, me and Ryan at least have read your blog post about this fight, and you guys kind of did an incredible breakdown of this fight and how you guys perceived it, and how the actual breakdown of the rules, instead of just like saying, oh, Retrograde should have won this with no kind of substance. So what was your thoughts going into the fight, and to kind of talk us through it, really?
Yeah, so at the end of the fight, just we're completely unsure. I don't know, my gut feel might have leaned to Retrograde. I think some of it was like split on our team. And so I was absolutely completely unsure, because when you first do the fight, or when you're first watching it, it's just like, you don't think, oh, this is the exact point system rubric, I'm going to score by that, unless you're really into the rules. So gut feel, completely unsure. I think the audience, it was coming off of like Antrim and Hydra, so they were fired up, and they started like chanting for Glitch, so that was a huge relief that the gut feel wasn't like completely shifted to Retrograde. It was kind of a mix. And then I don't know, as you said with the blog, like, was able to take a more analytical like approach, notice when damage happens and like what's the effect of it. But realistically, I think for the judges too, you don't see that. So like, for example, we had one of our wheels, like half of the rollers got taken out. And that happened about halfway in the fight. I watching it like 3 times, never even noticed that, just noticed at the end it was damaged. So I don't.
Well, you took out half of their weapon system too. Like the fact that's the thing with multiple weapon systems. I'll let you continue. But that's the thing. When you split your weapon system, you're asking for one part to get damaged, and then it's instead of just the whole thing going down, part of it goes down. But as long as the one part still spins, it's that's a whole separate thing. But go on. I just wanted to put that in.
So we had the wheel go down. I don't even know if the judges even saw that the wheel ever went down, but it's like, okay, if the judges did see that, did they think it happened at the end and we were worse for it, or did they somehow see a minute and a half halfway across the arena this small wheel have like a couple rollers taken out of it and is spinning fast? Like, how do you even notice damage? So I think the analytical approach is completely different from what probably the judges saw. But anyways,
I think as well, like the fact that you guys had caused more visual damage to Retrograde may have counted in your favor. Like, you see the 2 wheels of Retrograde fly off. You see the full arm system at the front kind of twisted and bent. You see the fork fly off. Glitch, the only major damage you can kind of like see from the distance that the judges are at, or even from the cameras, is like the forks are bent and the back armor panel flies off. That's really about it. Everything else is kind of like, you have to know what you're looking for. And again, maybe that's the eye test. I don't know. It was a good fight, and I think the fact that we got to see Retrograde do its thing as well. Like it was so cool to see them. Give you guys a really good fight, because they've blessed them. They've had 4 fights this season, and up to this point, and 3 of them have been highlighted. And the fact that they managed to get, it's brutal, right? And like, it's the fact that they were able to get a good one on TV, which we kind of brought up last week with the Double Jeopardy guys, and having that kind of show reel of, okay, this is what our robot's supposed to do to a top opponent, bring us back sort of thing. It kind of gives them more of a platform to say, hey, we can build a cool robot. Let's come.
Or for sponsors too.
That's another thing. Yeah. So I've kind of gone on a bit of a tangent here, but really, like, on first look, I thought Retrograde had won the fight, and I was kind of like, okay, I can see why they gave it to yourselves, because of the sheer damage, visually was kind of apparent. It was in your favor, but I would have been happy. I mean, the fact that it was split says a lot as well, right? The fact that it wasn't a clear cut decision on either side. It's I feel like it had to be a split because it's just the way that the rules are written, really. Ryan, I know you're passionate about judging. This is your time to shine, my man.
This fight just swims in a sea of ambiguity from a judging perspective. There's so much going on. And I absolutely love, I don't know who does the write-ups for your website, but it is genuinely the best I've seen for a judge's decision in terms of just being analytical and reflective. So really hats off to you for that, because there have been a lot of builders who have made, blog posts or YouTube videos going, aha, here's the way the judges were wrong and we were robbed. And they're usually completely wrong. The point you raise about sort of how do you judge a robot like Glitch especially speaks to me, with that thing of, so for example, for me, in the final seconds of the fight, it looks like you've lost your rear left and you're crab walking. But first, I'm trying to judge it off of 2 seconds of movement, and 2, it's kind of how it moves a lot of the time anyway.
Yeah.
And in terms of control as well, there are so many things you do that show amazing control, especially in other fights other than this one, actually. But there are also things that your robot seems to do when you're trying to do something different with it. So, incredibly difficult. So you were going to say something.
Yeah. So I think after the camera went out, the fight ended. We drove back to to the starting square. We were in the starting square. We drove like around a little bit, just showing that we had a drive working. And I think it was better than before the match started. And yeah, how do you judge that? Like, they did damage, and it's driving around better than before. Like, I don't know. Like, I think the textbook in the rule book, it says like damage to wheels. Like, if you're missing a chunk of a wheel, that counts as effective damage. But how can you say it's effective damage? Their main criteria for is damage effective is how does it work before and after, and if it improves, that's completely that's completely contradictory.
So what you're saying is Retrograde should have lost points for
it's
damaging
which
you.
section of the rules you decide you want to follow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Also, does anybody else find it weird that I forgot that Retrograde had other wheels, and you just see it driving around with no wheels?
It was it reminds me of a live event of Robot over in the UK called Mega Mouse. It was literally the same thing. Like when they fought in Robot Wars, their wheels got chopped off by carbide, and it's still able to function because it has wheels underneath inside. So and it was so peculiar. I was like, wait, why is it still running? I don't understand. Very,
it's funny though, because the damage to Retrograde also asks the same kind of question in terms of they've lost 2 wheels. It's very visible damage, but they're still driving around fine. I think I remember from your blog post, and again, this is something that always comes up when people get righteously angry about a decision they see. We've seen stuff happen on TV, but it's not the whole story. So I remember from your blog post that they were struggling to get back to their square afterwards.
I didn't put that in the blog because I'm just completely not sure. That's something they have to talk about. That's something I remember them being stopped in the middle of the arena at the end of the fight looking. But I asked the team, and they said they didn't. He didn't. I asked Seth Schaefer. He wasn't the driver, but he said he didn't think that there were any. So I would say that's probably a misremembering thing. So I didn't include it in the blog, but I just asked him in a
casual conversation sort of thing. Yeah.
And so that's, if I remembered it right, which I think is completely unlikely because they were the ones driving it, and I just looked and saw at one moment in time it was stationary. And he lets go of the controller at some point. It's got to be stationary. So. Yeah.
Speaking of remembering things right, this was the fight that we had 2 6-5s and 1 4-7, where Derek was the 4-7. I thought it was a previous fight, but it's this one. And I really wish we got the breakdowns on the judges' scorecards. I don't think they've posted them.
Just
but I
giving
want to
us
see
those numbers is meaningless. It tells us nothing about.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't help. And I feel like they've addressed it. I feel like there have been some editing changes, and I've noticed that in a couple of these episodes where, like, instead of, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but when Kenny talks now, they zoom directly in on him, and they don't just show Chris and Kenny. They show him just alone asking the question. So they are making little tweaks and changes on the back end. But it would be nice to, I don't know. There's got to be space on the screen to show like how they divvied up their points. That would be nice, because who knows? Lisa's 6'5" may be different than Jason's 6'5". It's not that cut and dry. It should. I mean, that's a whole different problem.
To be fair, and I say this as a fanatic of the sport, and I enjoy it. I feel like the general audience generally wouldn't care. That's the only way I can look at it. Like, numbers are numbers, but like from our point of view, who want to learn and want to have the show be improved for the builders, for for us to kind of sit here and be like, okay, well, I understand this more.
This isn't like a boxing fight where like you give them like this guy got 10-9 in this round, and you just add them all up at the end.
Yeah.
This is a 3-minute match.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different.
The way I see it, like the general audience is like, okay, I recognize why they won, because these two judges scored them this way and this one scored them the other way, and it's people like us who take a deep dive and want to go into it more. But I kind of want to see, okay, why did they do that? But yeah.
But even outside of that, the thing I really want to get to see is what happened in the 20 seconds after the fight. Were they able to move afterwards? For example, in the fight coming up, stuff happens after the fight that is really bloody crucial to the judging of that fight.
That's a good segue,
only
Ryan.
happens to make it into the corner of shot.
That's a good segue, because our next fight is the final fight of the tournament, if you like, which is Glitch versus Uppercut.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. So, first of all, how nervous were you?
I mean, almost every fight we thought we would lose. This one was especially, we thought we were going to lose.
Sounds very Panic Attack Series 2.
Yeah.
we're going to lose every round.
One thing I want to kind of bring up about this fight in particular is Glitch is such an unusual shape, and like everything's angled in such a certain way, and you're so low to the ground. Uppercut couldn't get a bite on you, and like no one could really get a hold of you, really. Like, was that kind of intentionally built into the robot itself, or was that sort of something you discovered was useful when you got there?
I mean, that's why we kind of sloped the armor, but we did not expect the ground clearance to really be a big part of it. We kind of expected most people to have forks and just like, kind of get under it. And it was just about the deflection, not about being low. But like in this fight, I think Uppercut comes from the back, and they have forked spring tips. I think those were thicker than the clearance that we had from the bottom of the ground, and so they just couldn't get under. Yeah, that was unintentional, but
I did appreciate
that's a lot of issues, but I guess it helped.
Yeah.
Well, you took your forks off in this fight. Was that just because you were fed up of dinging off the floor?
Yeah, pretty much. And just we didn't need them for this fight as much, so it's like, okay, let's not take the risk.
Yeah, they give them like free damage points basically if they get ripped off. We like they have big wheels. Like I don't know if it would help at all to have them. We risked messing with the driving. Yeah, that's something I don't think we even thought about that. That's pretty big in judges' decisions. Is if the only thing that's damaged is forks, like that's a significant effectiveness for defensibility. So. Definitely, and even using your weapon, like the fact that you see a lot of robots now run forks, and if the forks get damaged, like there was an endgame fight many moons ago where their forks kind of get bent up into their weapon, and it becomes very difficult for them to get robots up that that profile all of a sudden because they've basically gimped themselves. So it's sort of like I always like to tease my sister, and hopefully I don't know if she listens to these, but she gets her nails done and then she can't open anything or do anything. So it's like it's like you're handicapping yourself, and then it's instead of like helping. I don't know how else to explain that. But you know what I mean?
That's called function over form, Steve. That is. Come on now.
Come on now. Pampering's a thing.
Exactly.
Hey, everybody, it's all good.
Exactly. Another thing I kind of appreciated, and again, another shout out to your blog post, is the fact that you kind of highlighted the fact that the floor was damaged prior to this fight by Deep Six. There's this giant. It's very visual, like visually, like apparent on the TV as well. Like there's a big like dip where Deep Six has hit the floor in their fight with Ribot, and the floor is like, I don't know how much it is, but it's certainly more than your ground clearance is, like uneven. And is that what killed Glitch in this fight?
Yep. Yeah, and we knew about it beforehand. Hey Anthony, why do you drive onto the?
There's so much box everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean uppercuts in that one spot. Yeah, there's too much adrenaline.
They know what they're doing.
I rarely think, and in that case, I wasn't thinking. So, yeah.
I think we were literally screaming, "Don't go by the seam!"
And there was Glitch over the seam.
Yeah.
So,
got a
go
bottom
over the
fade.
seam. Okay.
To be fair, like you did still get a few good connections with Uppercut after that point. Like there was a few solid hits in that. I thought Uppercut was going to end up flying over the wall, and then you got stuck on. You got high centered. Uppercut then stops, and then you both get counted out, and another judge's decision comes your way. Not like you had enough at this point. This is 3 for 3. I want to say it is, and another split.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it went like there was a split in the favor of Uppercut. I'll be honest. Like there was.
You might want to get your nails done if you want more to bite. You know,
Yeah.
this is too scary.
I was just confused. Like I was like, why? Who thought Uppercut won that? Because Glitch was the one doing all the aggressive driving and the one doing the hitting. I know Uppercut got one connection off, but like you took its base panel off. It was and the self-righting pole. Like there was a lot of damage to Uppercut, and I was kind of like, why?
And you know, it can't drive anymore.
No,
it's pretty critical.
Yeah, and then obviously as we saw, kind of the buzzer goes off, the fight ends, and then a little you can see just in the corner of the screen, Glitch starts moving again. I was just like, huh? So you could actually move after the fight, and you kind of strafe over to your door.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. So yeah, what we did was we turned off the weapon and started it again just to jerk the bot, and that was enough to free it. So as soon as the countdown ended, instantaneously. So I think it cut to our expressions for that last few seconds, and not us getting freed at the exact moment the knockout was called. But yeah, we got freed. Actually, some tidbits on the weapons startup thing. Roy is our weapons operator. I yelled at him to turn it off and like turn it back on. He thought that it was the ref saying to turn it off.
Oh, I was worried you guys had like a brownout because it's like the weapon spun down. I'm like, did they lose reciprocal connection? What happened?
There was a significantly longer gap than intended where I was trying to convince him to spin it back up because he thought that the ref was going. I think you can see in one of the clips. I reached my hand onto the controller and
you backseat drivered it. I can't believe it. Oh my god.
The complete opposite of will spin down.
Yeah, literally the exact opposite thing. Did you think that you'd done enough to win the fight?
I mean, yeah, I think the only confusion was our weapon down, but I mean, without that, I think in the blog I said like 6-3. I thought it was us, but realistically, I think I probably would have given it 7-2. Like, I mean, I would have given it 5-0 damage just because none of the damage we received was effective. There was a huge deformation in our frame, actually, which was like just a glancing growth from Uppercut. That was just insane. I wish I had a photo. And someone has a photo, and I'm trying to figure out who. But like, it doesn't, for the rules, it doesn't count as effective. And then for them, they have textbook massive damage. I forgot what the exact word is.
Significant.
Defensibility. They have wires exposed at the bottom.
Yeah. So it classes as functional at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, that is functional. And then number 2, they were counted out, so they couldn't drive. That's 5-0. But in addition to that, also their entire frame was warped, so the weapon was hitting the sides of their chassis. And I thought we initiated significantly more hits. The only thing, I guess it would be 6-3 if you gave them control. 7-2 if you gave us control. At that point, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, all the judges saw this as 6-5 either way. I mean, this was as down the middle on the cards as you could have gotten, mostly because the fight was so short. But yeah, you guys basically took. I would have to think you took a majority of the damage points, even though I mean there's a couple instances in this fight that this could easily have turned around, because there's one spot where you guys are facing the sidewall and here comes Uppercut, and then all of a sudden you about face and it's perfectly fine, and boom, it's gone.
Yeah. It's a fantastic piece of driving, a fantastic demonstration of control.
There it is.
See, Glitch can drive. All those
it can turn in place. It can turn in place really well.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, at the end of the day, even with like giving the Uppercut 2-1 control, 2-1 aggression. I don't see how it can be anything other than 4-1 damage. But
yeah, I feel this one was less ambiguous.
Yeah.
Ambiguous. Wow, I can't speak.
I think you can hear me say what when the split decision is announced. It's just I think the impression that we got was it's a double knockout because it's a clear cut winner, and so it's easier for TV.
Yeah.
And when realistically, like Uppercut was crowd blocking for significantly before we got stuck, and also just being stuck on that huge seam. The refs knew about it. They told us about it, so they know that is arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, arena damage. That is specifically why that rule exists for on-sticks. So it's just, I thought it was a convenience thing, and because it was such a one-sided match, so to hear the split decision was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's scary. I can't imagine what it feels like to have to deal with the judges 3 times in a row. And I'm quite glad you guys didn't have to deal with it, because there's another robot coming up that sure does like to take it to the judges an awful lot.
Steve, you're really good with these segues today, aren't you?
I'm awesome.
So, our last fight. Now, I want to preface this with
yes,
my thoughts on Rotator, because I think Rotator is hands down one of the best robots in all of BattleBots. It's for me one of the top 5 machines out there. Like
worldwide, honestly.
Yeah,
it really could go anywhere and win.
Every time it made it to the bracket,
draw.
It's lost to the eventual winner of BattleBots as well. Like it's lost to Bite Force, Endgame, Tantrum in the last 3 of the last 4 years.
That's really frustrating.
I know.
God.
When you get Drew again, obviously I know you wanted to do the Witch Doctor bounty, but you ended up in the Rotator one. What was kind of your thoughts when you're like, oh my god, now we've got to fight Rotator?
It's like, okay, like it's gonna be the retrograde fight, but we're gonna lose.
Went in with zero confidence.
Zero. The confidence is at the floor. Like, oh no, we. I think we said this in the interview. We thought we would only have one fight because of how delayed we were up against Ghost Raptor. So I literally before Ghost Raptor, I went up to the sponsor. I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I think we're only gonna have this one fight." And then so that happened, and then we.
You need a hype man in your corner, man.
Yeah, just a couple more fights.
Just a few.
And then DQ.
Yeah.
So, and then bracket happened. So that helped a little bit, but it's still going off of 3 very close judges' decisions against a bot that never dies, and is very similar to our very closest match, except has more damage capabilities and is more durable. So.
And were you worried that was it? I hope it wasn't intentional to not have your weapon spin up right at the beginning. Was it just too fast at the beginning, or you needed maybe you had to rev it up, or overexcited?
I don't know what the specific problem was, but I don't know. You could see it twitching, so it's something that brushless motors do sometimes.
Weird torque settings, man. These brushless motors are finicky.
Like we haven't had that in Glitch before, but
are you saying that Glitch had a glitch?
Yes, it all makes sense. It all makes sense.
Yeah. But in my 15-pound robots, that happened all the time. So oh no, wasn't unfamiliar, but I think it happened in the test box beforehand when we were like, okay, we don't have enough time to figure out what's going on here.
I actually got some questions from more listeners again for this fight specifically. First of all, from Charles Wright and Christine Giver. Were there any changes specifically made to Glitch to fight Rotator, or was it just kind of send it as it was?
Send it. Actually, I think. No, we didn't.
We swapped out.
Actually, did we re-weld the armor? That was either for Uppercut or for. Okay, so no, we didn't. It was the same as Uppercut.
Just send it.
Just full send it.
I mean,
whatever
it was
happens,
working.
happens.
It was working at this
Actually,
point.
we swapped out the armor piece that got bent.
Yes.
Which I don't think it matters.
Definitely more.
That's it.
Another question as well was, how did it make you feel like that you managed to kind of almost shake off the gremlins that you'd had in the main competition? Obviously, you had 3 fights and then had to stop. This time you've done 3 fights again, and you've actually got to do your 4th fight this time instead of having, obviously getting DQ'd in the main competition. Was it a good feeling for yourselves and the team to be like, okay, thank God we've actually managed to get through this?
Yeah, I mean, in the drive, the drive and Uppercut it worked decently well. Like, we could move somewhat quickly, and I mean, the biggest drive difficulty was when we got stuck on the floor. I mean, there's a couple times where we kind of got caught and had to we couldn't move forward. We had to turn around, but it was working relatively well, and so we were excited about that, having the opportunity to somewhat drive.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk about that big hit, because that big hit was
Shocking that you'd want to talk about that.
I do.
Oh.
I know. How could I want to talk about the actual action in this, fighting robot competition? There's actually been someone who actually left us a bit of information about the hit itself. So apparently, the weapon of Rotator dug into its own chassis. You bent it into itself, and because the bottom plate is not titanium this year, it's actually aluminium or aluminum. It just sheared all the bolt heads off, and it just that's what caused all the gunk to fall out, basically, and all that beautiful arcing as well, which worked really well with the paint scheme, by the way. The pretty green arcing sparks really set off Glitch really nicely, and I just didn't see anything like that happening. I thought Rotator was just gonna, regardless of who it fought at the end of this bracket, was just gonna turn up and win.
Yeah.
And I've been wrong before, and I am wrong once again. It was just, what a hit.
You talk about that arcing. You talk about that arcing. I sent a picture in the chat to everybody, and it's very similar to that very cliche, a boxer knocks somebody out, and then there's all those flash bulbs, as they're going down. And I mean, this was that. If you want a highlight reel hit, this is the one. I think BattleBots is very happy to have this in their arsenal now. What a remarkable shot! Batteries everywhere. Never in our wildest dreams have we ever seen Rotator this. Just
not even Witch Doctor when it first arrived.
No, it took a wheel. Psh, that's child's play. But this was just a total gutting. Evisceration of Rotator. It was very graphic for television.
I think Victor's reaction said it all, really, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think he said it all perfectly in 2 words, didn't he? And 7-0 Glitch. Surely that can't have been anywhere near on your radar when you turned up.
That's usually enough to win the championship.
I was going to say, if someone had said to you when you first turned up, "Oh, you're going to win your first 7 fights," then you're thinking, "Okay, we're in the final of BattleBots. So something's not quite right here," What did you think at that point? We just kind of, did you I don't know if you're too young to gamble. You couldn't have gone to the slot machines or anything, could you?
Nope.
Oh wow, that's rubbish, isn't
It
it?
would have been a good time to.
Yeah, literally.
Probably used up all of our luck for the next year and a half. Anyways, probably shouldn't have. Good thing we didn't go gamble.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I mean, what was your kind of thinking? What was going through your mind at that point? Obviously, I know sleep was probably on your mind as well, but what was kind of the initial reaction to, oh my God, what's happening?
What's the answer to that? I don't know if I had any thoughts. It was just head empty.
Just vibes.
We survived. Oh,
I mean,
punching my bike.
There's nothing more that really needs to say than that, really, is there?
No.
Yeah. What an astonishing run, and what an astonishing year. Even from now, if everything went downhill, I mean, you've won 7 fights in a row, and you've beaten some amazing teams. It's just incredible to watch, and you know, credit to you guys for, like, you mentioned you did £15 robots. Like, how many robots deep are you until like building, like before you built Glitch? Like, was this like your first heavyweight design or things like that?
See, yeah. So I had done two 15-pound robots, faster advanced robots in technology, RG beater and washing machine. Our electrical lead, Roy, did two 15-pound robots also, and on the same team. And Anthony machined parts for Mad Catter when he was a student there. Everyone else completely had not touched combat robotics. I'm talking like, what's the percentage?
I think it's like more than 95% of the team. Like, I didn't even know. I was at BattleBots. I didn't know who any of the teams were. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anything. I had no idea what was going on.
Who are all these people? Why are they so excited?
Personally, I just showed up at the club like a few months before BattleBots, and they asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like, I don't know what BattleBots is. I know that it's a show where robots kill each other, but I'm down to go. I'm down to help build a killer robot. And I showed up and I was like, damn.
Like, every time
we
had a fight, we had to like Google the robot because I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know who they were.
Oh, it's so good.
Well, now you're stuck with it. You're bit, hopefully.
But even then, like, you know, you mentioned you've only built like two 15-pounds before this. Like, this is like your third combat robot.
A lot of us have done like other robotics in high school, so most of our team has had some form of robotic experience, either through, like, I did Vex and FRC when I was in high school, and a lot of others members have to.
Yeah, it's still very impressive. I think, you know, you could all be very proud of yourselves. You know, we've mentioned we've mentioned on this podcast a lot this year. Like, you know, the fact that you're all so young just makes me feel very inadequate, and it's very impressive. And, you know, credit to you all. Before we wrap up, there are a few questions for what happens now. Obviously, I know we can't talk about the episode at the end of the season. We've still got a few more to go. But Keith from RoboMouse on Discord asks, of the robots that are in the Golden Bolt tournament currently, which did you think would give you the most trouble, and what would you like to avoid, given the choice?
Can I hear this?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You okay? Hello?
You're right.
It was all going so well.
You asked too difficult a question.
Oh, it's better now.
There we go.
Okay, so I asked, of the robots currently in the Golden Bolt tournament, what do you think would give you the most trouble?
I think the word Golden Bolt is.
I think we've lost Kyle.
So terrifying that he cannot even speak it.
Zoom doesn't want you to say, apparently.
Yeah, we'll chalk it down to NDA. How about that? That works. Okay, well, I think it might be best to wrap up, because I think Kyle's internet has decided it's lasted an hour and a half and it's now shat the bed. It's just all gone so wrong. Yeah, this is.
Oh no, it's just me. Is Kyle like completely disconnected?
I'm not sure.
Oh
no!
Oh.
Very on brand.
The question was, which robot would we be like?
Yeah, what would you like to have avoided?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think incredibly like mobile bots that have like good driving control, like Tantrum, would probably be the worst, absolutely, to face, because we have no like counter to that. Like, we can't counter it with our own mobility. So yeah, they'd probably just get around us in the back and like run us up against a wall or something.
Yeah, and they have similar armor sloping as you guys do, sort of, kind of, where like you both kind of have a slanted armor package that would, you know, deter.
A lot of the questions we've had unsurprised. I'm sure you can guess where it's like what the topic is going to be. It's the maneuverability and reliability of glitch. What is the plan going forward with regard to maybe a future iteration that's going to change the outcome of glitches driving gremlins?
We have plans for changes. Have we tested those changes?
We cannot confirm that they will work.
Okay.
He's working on it. I think he'd be the best person.
Was this question? Because you repeat the question. Sorry, I'm like.
Can you drive, Anthony? Can the robot drive now?
Oh, we haven't driven it yet.
So you've built the new one.
Yeah, we have a test rig that we tried to build with the concept for our new drive system, and it seems to work a bit better, but the floor is like very even on the floor that we were testing it on was very like smooth. So we do need to do more testing very soon. Speaking of which, now that I'm back in Berkeley, we can actually like keep meeting in the space. But yeah, we have like a new concept so I think we hypothesized that the reason why we're having such issues was because last year all 4 of the wheels were like rigidly mounted to the frame, and so relative to each other they didn't have any play, and so like you'd be on an uneven surface, and that mean if you're on an uneven surface, then there's always going to be like one wheel that's not contacting the floor just because of it's like over constrained. So we're trying to add some compliance and like play to our drive system,
like a suspension in a way, sort of.
Exactly. Yeah, if you had a car that had like really tough wheels that did not have any play to them and also didn't have a suspension, it would not like drive very well. So
it would be very unhappy.
Yeah.
I think there's like 5 things wrong. So some of the other things, one are just center so far forward, so it's a little bit farther back now. 2, our magnets were all cracking, so we have a case for them now, which we really should have had beforehand. 3, we have custom wheels, so softer rollers, so we should have better grip. And 4, there's some electrical bug in there that
one wheel just like wouldn't spin.
Just not like one. Like any of the 4 wheels could just stop at any time.
Like wouldn't go.
We have just recently solved that, thanks to the help of a lot of teams.
Awesome.
Yeah, the 5th one being the suspension.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like given how successful Glitch has been this year, it's very exciting to see what you can come back with a year's experience, and like having spoken to a lot of other teams, like what difference that's going to make. It to be fascinating to see how you like kind of improve going forward, because I think it's fair to say that we've all been massively impressed by just the sheer power of like the thing, and the fact that it like I mentioned it kind of before we started recording this, but like you seem to stumble into victory very well, and it's a great skill to have. Like winning like and dominating fights is one thing, but like having that ability to kind of not panic under pressure and just kind of get that one vital, I mean maybe not panicking, but like is the wrong bit, but like you know what I mean, like getting that kind of clutch hit is always useful, and
kind of let the robot do its own thing. Sometimes it's
the turning into them.
I think we can wrap things up there. Apologies for the slight technical issues towards the end, but I feel like it was hilarious enough to keep it anyway, so we're going to do that. Everyone who's come on today from Team Glitch, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Anytime.
Yes, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to refrain from asking you guys to outro for us, because there's obviously so much of you and it could be quite difficult to kind of organise. But with that said, I have been SamuelLit64.
I've been Steve the American Killjoy.
I've been Ryan from Spinnerproof. And
we've been joined by what feels like half the members of Team Glitch, but it's not. It's only about like a 10th. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week for more BattleBots Champions action. And Ryan, thank you very much for joining us as well. It's good to have you back, man.
Always a pleasure. Anytime.
Right. Well, we'll see you then. Kyle's here twice now. This is all of a sudden gone very wrong. Hello.
Hi.
Oh, I'll tell you what. The legs.
This laptop is dead. Oh no!
It's gonna keep.
It's making noises. It's making noises.
I'm so sorry.
This is staying in. Oh, this is great.
No, it is. Stop, Sam. Come on.
Kyle,
What's happening?
just unplug it. Oh god.
Oh my god.
Katie, turn off the camera.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I tried to pull up the task manager, but I couldn't even turn it off.
Can I use this pulse of yours?
Okay, it's off now.
I thought my situation was bad. That's like.
Hang on.
I
let
don't
me-
know. It wasn't even the laptop. The
Dude,
laptop
I'm at the
said-
supermarket.
Oh,
Okay,
Wow.
we fixed it. We've
we're good.
We've somehow fixed. This has been
Oh,
special.
you have to fix me. Oh my god, my face hurts.
Oh, literally. Oh my goodness.